We head back to the 80s for a great comedy. Number 84 on the list is Brewster's Millions. Welcome to Long Play Video. Great. Well, another slow day in the shop. I'm starting to worry about opening a video shop, to be honest with you, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is the best idea.
It's a good job we had that person, Kevin, last week that rented out all 10,000 videos. That was really helpful.
That was useful. There must be another shop down the road or something that's offering it cheaper. That's the only explanation.
One day we'll venture outside and see. One day.
Never. Stay here. With all these videos, why would we go out?
Maybe season 2. Who knows?
So here we are. Perfect opportunity to tackle the next film on the list. Number 84, which is Brewster's Millions, which I believe that you have seen before. You were saying to me. Now, obviously, we know with you that might mean that you have watched any number of different films that you now confuse with Brewster's Millions. But we're fairly sure you've seen it. So
yeah, this is one that is a bit more difficult to confuse with something else. So I definitely have seen this. Now, whether I remember it is a completely different question. But I have seen this film, yes.
So in actual fact, I thought I'd, as tradition now holds, I thought I'd invite someone else to the shop. I see them waving outside now.
Oh, let them in.
Hello.
Hi. I've never been happier that my cousin works in a video rental.
That's probably actually the very truth of that statement, just globally. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I've actually bought a film back.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What have you got?
So it's on time, so no fines to pay. It's The Mummy. Of course.
Hold on. The original with Brendan Fraser or the adapted new version with Tom Cruise?
We don't talk about the adapted new version of Tom Cruise. It's definitely the Brendan Fraser one, because it's kind of the ultimate film, right? It's funny.
Great.
It's got some jump scares. It's an adventure. It's got Brendan in breeches. So what more could you want?
I know
that
you're a fan, so
it's one of my favorite films.
That's a great film. We were literally talking about this a couple of weeks ago, me and Andy, and I was like, we need to reinvent the adventure genre somehow and get these films back in. So I'm all up for it.
I completely agree with you. We, my fiance and I have been doing a Sunday night adventure movie. That's our sort of Sunday ritual.
You might have to share that list.
Well, to be honest,
season 8.
It's amazing how quickly you get through them. There's not loads of great adventure films, I have to say.
No. And National Treasure will have to be on your list.
They're producing bad adventure films all the time, but maybe not good ones.
No, exactly. They don't all stand the test of time. But I would say that The Mummy is one of them. And this is, the 10th time I've rented it out. So I figured I would try something new.
Just keep rewinding it. That's fine. But talking about classics that have the test of time, obviously we're bringing you in to watch Brewster's Millions. So let me just pass over the video to you, just so you can have a look. You can give us your thoughts and maybe read the synopsis and see what you think.
Okay, so.
And so you know nothing about this film,
I know nothing. So the only thing I would say, in sort of like a futile lockdown attempt at writing my own screenplay, I read a very famous book on script writing called Save the Cat. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It was written by Blake Snyder. And one of the things he talks about is how the tagline is really what sells your film when you're trying to sort of sell it to be brought to a studio. And the tagline does quite a lot for such a short sentence, because it actually tells you what the film is. So a really good example of this in recent terms is for the film Parasite. And the tagline for Parasite was "Act like you own the place."
Nice.
So for anyone who's seen it, that really tells you what the film is. So looking at the Brewster's Millions tagline, which says, "You don't have to be crazy to blow $30 million in 30 days, ... So trying to figure that out. I mean, is that telling me that one of them is crazy? Really? Maybe that's telling me, maybe that's the twist at the end of the film. All I would say is maybe there's some sort of rules in that tagline, because I would say you could blow 30 million by buying a house somewhere fancy. So
probably nowadays, just in the middle of London, we'll probably
exactly
a little one bed,
just a garage.
Exactly, just a parking space. So maybe there's like rules tied to this, like you can't buy, I don't know, houses and cars or assets or something.
You've gone straight to the heart of it.
Have I?
I mean, the tagline does finish, but it helps. You can't see that. You can't see that because it is a faded video cover, because lots of people have rented this over the years.
We need to get that reprinted on our dot matrix printer, Andy.
Oh, okay. So I mean, that kind of clues me in a little bit, maybe. But as for the film, I don't know. The only time I've seen Richard Pryor was in the Muppet movie. When I think he has a cameo. I think that's the only film I've seen him in. And same for John Candy. I haven't seen many of his films. I watched Planes, Trains and Automobiles over Christmas. But that's kind of sad, that film. He kind of breaks your heart in that film. So I don't know if he kind of always plays this sort of same character or not.
Similar. He is very funny. He's got some great. You should definitely watch Cool Runnings. A great John Candy film.
Yeah. Okay.
Peak John Candy.
But I mean, Andrew, like, why is this on your list? Is this like belly laughs? Like, is this fond memories for you?
Yeah. So the film came out in 1985. At the when we was that before or after you?
When was it? I was in 88.
Okay. Yeah. So predates you. So that's always fun. And so this was a film that was just on TV again, like all of the time growing up. What I think I'm most looking forward to seeing is just how much of it was edited from the TV. I'm sure there will be like entire scenes that will be in there, although it is a PG, and I think that's kind of the critique of this in like anything that you read is you've got Richard Pryor and you've got John Candy and you put them in a PG film, and that's a bit of a shame. So I just remember it. Well, there's a couple of things. There's a couple of kind of beats that I think it hits for me. First of all, like New York-based comedies, but New York-based films in the 80s. In the 80s, New York just seemed super scary in most media that made it over to the UK. Before, I think like Friends like made New York just seem like a really nice place to live. And it was, and everyone was nice, and people were hanging out. But the 80s,
there were coffee shops everywhere.
Exactly, and so much so that my wife, who's lived in New York, was like, and has never watched Friends because she resents the fact that all the apartments are much bigger than you can get if you live in New York. So it was like, is it set in New York? I thought it was like in Seattle or something. Like, she just refuses to believe that it's actually set in New York. But in the 80s. That New York just had a completely different vibe and was quite a scary place, and like was like, oh, what is going on here? Which I don't know whether that's true to life. I don't know. I mean, obviously, New York has had gentrification since the 80s, but that's definitely the films.
I'm picturing a Free Jack type scenario where,
for sure,
apocalyptic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just Mick Jagger walking down the street. Probably, actually, during the 80s, probably did happen. But so like this and Trading Places and kind of 48 Hours, I would say, sort of all occupy a sort of a similar place. 48 Hours actually in Detroit, but it's kind of a similar thing where it's like comedies, but like it's got a sort of a dark element to it. and yeah, just kind of because of that, like, and because of the fact that it was just on all of the time, I watched this film 100 plus times just through osmosis, and I remember being really funny, but also like funny with something to say, and I think that's the difference between I think between this and Trading Places. Trading Places, I would say, was the first time I ever saw boobs on the TV. So that's got its own place.
That video got worn out.
That's in the top 10. It's not Trading Places isn't in the top 100.
The long play function on the VHS machine.
Also, Trading Places is kind of like a revenge story, I would say.
As
opposed to a moral.
And no one is likable in it. No one is likable. Basically, they just do to someone else what they were planning to do to them, and it's just there is no redeemable character, I think, in Trading Places. Whereas I think with Brewster's Millions, I remember it that Brewster himself is a really good character, and there's actually some sort of more to him. And then John Candy as his friend is just a sort of breath of fresh air, and is just really nice and a good person. And I think there's like an edge to this that is about politics and is about money and capitalism and other things. And I think that for me is why it kind of elevates it a little bit more than those other films. I know, Kevin, sort of similar, I presume, that you just kind of had seen this 100 times on TV.
I was trying to remember when the first time was I would have seen it, and I definitely can't remember that. But I just have memories of it being on, like you said, being on TV all the time. And it's funny you should mention Trading Places. I watched that more recently, and I don't know, it definitely doesn't stand up as well, I don't think, and it doesn't feel as nice as I thought it might have done from my previous memory. Where
Christmas movie,
it's a Christmas film,
I know.
Him eating the salmon is definitely just one of the worst bits of any film.
Oh, that is that's pretty grim. Just to continue our theme of reviewing two films in one podcast. But I think this is a great film. For me, I remember it being really funny, really happy, really like joyous. Like you said, there's still some life lessons in there, and obviously some protagonists, obviously make it a film. But I think it's I remember it being super funny. And it's interesting when you were saying at the start about John Candy and Richard Pryor being in a PG. It then actually made me think about like Home Alone when they had Joe Pesci, and I think it's on Netflix. There's how did these movies get made, or something like that, or your favorite movies. And on there, they talk, Home Alone's on there, and they were talking about how where Joe Pesci sort of makes up his own sort of language. They had to have him deliberately do that because he was going to continue to keep swearing during Home Alone. So he'd be like, and that was like, that was his way of making sure he didn't swear. So I'm going to listen out for that and see if Richard Pryor does that in this. And is that how Joe Pesci went through Home Alone? I think
is there a crossover? Same cinematic universe as Home Alone.
Yeah. Well, John Candy is in both. And, that would be a good double header.
Yeah.
But should we try and find out a bit more from the back? I don't know, Natalie, if you could see the back with this amazing font, if you want to give us a bit more thoughts on what you think from that.
Okay, so there is a bit of blurb on here. So it says, you don't have to be crazy to blow $30 million in 30 days, but it helps. And in Brewster's Millions, directed by Walter Hill. I couldn't tell you what else Walter Hill has directed.
But 48 hours, funnily enough.
Oh, okay. And in Brewster's Millions, that's exactly what Montgomery Brewster is up to.
Yes.
Brewster, a pitcher with the
Hackensack
Bulls baseball team. Oh, okay. So he's a sports star. Is star the right word? Okay.
That will be up for debate.
Okay. Baseball team is suddenly left 300 million?
Yeah, 300.
Yeah, 300 million.
Wow.
Which almost feels like completely pointless now. That is just a car park in London. You're like, 200 million? What am I going to do with that? That doesn't even get me a seat on SpaceX or something.
God.
In 1985, though.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
1985.
exactly.
Whoa.
In New
Yeah.
York, which apparently was awful. So,
Yeah.
so he's suddenly left 300 million by an eccentric. It's always an eccentric
Yeah.
distant relative, isn't it? But there's a
Yes.
catch. He must spend 30 million in 30 days without having, I was right, without having any
Yes.
assets to show for it. And
Yeah.
more, if he reveals to even a soul that the real reason he seems to be throwing away all that cash, he will forfeit everything. Okay, so he can't say anything.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
intriguing.
Here we go. Now we're all in. Yeah.
I'm in, yeah.
Just keeps getting better and better.
So, aided and abetted by his teammate Spike and a stream of hangers-on, Brewster begins a spending spree that would bring any self-respecting accountant to his knees.
Yeah. So what do you think
Intriguing.
now then? Yeah.
I like the twist that he can't tell anyone what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. Can you imagine you having to spend all that money and everyone's just like, are you crazy? Which is exactly why it says, are you crazy?
Yeah. And also like no assets. You can't tell anyone and no assets. So yeah, what's he gonna do with it?
Yeah.
Very intriguing.
So
Yeah, the mind
it's so
boggles.
funny whenever if you listen to any podcast or you hear anything about this film, there's two things that everyone gets obsessed with. The first is that the walls and like what the walls are and how you could push the walls and bend the walls and stuff like that. And the second is, that would be easy. I would just do this, or I would just like, the film's rubbish because I would just do this and I would do that. And I think that is testament that this is like one of the greatest plots for a comedy of all time. And it's from a book written in 1906. It's actually been made into, I think it's like 7 or 8 different movies.
Okay.
But I think
we're going to make you watch all of them after
so this, we'll start with this one and then we'll go back chronologically.
Get ready. Quick, lock the front door, Andy.
We'll get to the adventures. But yeah, it's just such a great premise. It's such a great premise to say, okay, you just have to spend a lot of money, not tell anyone, and not have anything to show for it. And you can imagine, like in every kind of time period, like 1906 are doing well, like the 20s are doing well.
Yeah.
The kind of the 50s and I think that there was one just after the war and that kind of being, oh wow, like how frivolous can you be? And then I think the 80s as well, because obviously the 80s were the 80s. Frivolity and stuff of it. So so it's just such a great premise that it's
I mean, I guess it's universal language, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you had a conversation with someone that went like, what would you do if you won the lottery? And it's the same thing, isn't it? It's something that everyone kind of thinks about in some way or has done. So
and it's such a great idea because you could even just waste the money. That's the whole point. Like you don't have to worry about it. There's a giant amount of money that you can just spend and it's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm assuming when it says assets, like, does that just mean like a house and a car, or does it mean like you can't have anything physical?
That's no spoilers.
We'll find out.
Okay, fine. I got my brain wearing now.
Just as a point of comparison, with inflation, 30 million from 1985 would be 88.297 million today.
Wow.
So close to either close to
100 million,
a poor man's billion or 100 million. I don't know how many zeros there are after billions. But yeah, and I think because it is again, because it's supposed to be sort of spontaneous and it's a lot of kind of reacting and stuff. I think that's why Richard Pryor's really good with it. I don't know, Kev, have you seen a lot of Richard Pryor movies? He's sort of someone that you kind of,
I mean, as we know on this podcast, who really knows what I've seen? Definitely not me. But I have seen quite a few with him. But obviously, he was is it Eric Idle that used to do lots of no, not Eric Idle, Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder. That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah, so I remember watching. They used to have lots of those films together on TV, so I used to watch a lot of them together. I just have a really good memory of this film, like, and it's really fun. And as you said earlier, obviously everyone goes through the concept, oh, I'll do this and I'll do that. Well, it's a film. The idea is he's not supposed to solve it in the first 30 seconds because otherwise it's completely pointless. And this is the thing, everyone's had loads of time to think about it. Well, it's like, well, if we just suddenly found out now, then you're like, okay, now, oh, okay, what would I do? It's a complete shock to him. So, and it's an unfathomable amount of money. And so you're then thinking, okay, how would I actually spend this? What do I actually do? And you've got 30 days, right? So the clock's ticking, so you can't spend too much time thinking about it. So yeah, I have memories of this being a really good, funny, uplifted sort of film. I imagine it's going to age, pretty badly in terms of it's going to look, the color scheme will be very 80s. Which I'm fine with. I just hope it hasn't aged badly from a content perspective, and there aren't any sort of questionable elements in it. I don't really remember that being the case, but yeah, I'm hoping that it stands the test of time, and I can happily watch it, and yeah, and it'll be a good fun watch.
Yeah, interesting with it when you say about trading places. I think this, because I think this has a little bit more going for it as well. Then I think, then I think, then in my memory as well, like Richard Pryor is the sort of the any man who gets it, and I think that's what's sort of also really great is that, the character is just supposed to be someone who, kind of gets this money, and that's it. And I think he's really
your
good
average
at,
Joe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, a minor league baseball player. Notwithstanding, especially at his age, which is a bit funny one, but it provides a comic foil throughout the movie to be a baseball player. So and I think I mean, especially for me, kind of Richard Pryor, the kind of comedy films, but also then his stand-up comedy kind of was almost sort of what introduced me then into sort of that sort of genre of American comedian like Lenny Bruce, and then on to kind of Bill Hicks, who was like a comedian that had a massive impact on me, in the 90s as I was growing up. I can quote you kind of entire like specials from them, and I think it was that kind of biting satire, which there isn't so much in this film because it is a PG, but I think there's kind of an underlying, like, I think Richard Pryor has his own energy that no one ever has matched or has been the same. And I remember, bringing that to it.
Yeah, I think as you said as well, with him and John Candy as well, I think that those two match very well together. I think if it had been someone not as strong as John Candy, I'm not sure that the double act would have worked as well. And it is a slightly different type of role for John Candy in these normal sort of films. So I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah. So obviously we're getting into this point now where it's on your top 100. We're getting into the nitty gritty of the 80s in numbers and obviously year. So why is it on your top 100 then? Is it because of that sort of defining moment of starting off your comedy career?
It all led to this point. Yeah, we're getting down the list or up the list. No, we won't start again.
Don't confuse me.
I think I was kind of, when I was making the list, I was going through the top comedies of all time, and like I say, there was sort of a lot in there, but then when I saw Brewster's Millions, I was just like, again, because you're just like, that's such a sort of instantly recognizable theme and plot. I think that's the thing. Like even for you, I mean, if you can remember it, then that means it's pretty memorable. Yeah. But I think that's kind of the point, is that as soon as you see Brewster's Millions on the list, like you remember it, you have that kind of reaction, and I do think it will have aged better than most. From what I remember it. And funnily enough, I was talking to my wife about it, and I was saying that we were doing it, and she was like, well, didn't we watch that the other day? And I was like, no, I don't, like a few years back, but I think we have watched it in the last probably 5 years, just because it was on something, and we started watching it. And so I've watched it since the sort of the 90s when it was on TV. I've definitely watched it in like a few times in the last 10 years. And so, it does stand up. And I do just think it's such a brilliant premise.
I was going to
That's-
ask if you'd seen it as an adult and if you still enjoyed it, because obviously when you first watched it, you'd have been how old?
Yeah. This is a good question because it brings up the real question: is Andy actually an adult yet? So,
you just
That's
completely
true.
volleyed that one up there for him. He's like,
Sorry.
I don't even need to reply to that. Yeah, no, I have.
Okay.
I definitely, I think I've watched it in the last 10 years. I always say the last 5 years and then realize that, I have an 8-year-old child.
Yeah.
But definitely in the last 10 years. And and it did still hold up. I don't think, but as follows, for me, I don't think there's many like belly laughs. I think it's like a happy comedy all the way through. You know, those comedies where it's just a funny film, and it's not like there's a gag that you're like, that's the best gag ever. It's just that the entire film is put together really well. It's really funny, and actually, like, you kind of, you get invested in it. And I think that for me is almost more of the mark of a good comedy than kind of, that one funny bit, and you're a bit like, well, but that's not really it for a film. So
have you seen many films from the 80s, Natalie?
I have, because I've got 2 older sisters, and they're sort of just about 7 and 10 years older than me. So my film time span is pretty broad.
Okay.
But I think like Richard Pryor films kind of pass me by. I think it's weird when you have like an age gap with siblings, because there's so many random films from when they were kids that I will have seen, and then other kind of experiences that completely pass me by. So
well, we won't talk. We won't talk about their taste in films. I think we'll avoid that topic as well.
Yeah. And is this the kind of film that you would potentially watch, Natalie, or is this not really where you would go to?
Maybe not. But I think only because I think as soon as I see that there's anything to do with sport in a film, I'll be like, it just like it's just not one that I'll pick up. Like, I obviously get the impression that this is more like about the comedy and about the storyline of the money than it is about the fact that he plays sport. So it's different. But I think also I'm not sure why I feel this way, but I think I've never assumed that I would find Richard Pryor funny, and I don't know why. I don't know if that's a time or an age thing. I think my little knowledge of Richard Pryor is that he, as a stand-up, was quite controversial. Maybe that's the wrong word.
No, I think that's the right word.
Breaking barriers, I think. He was
fine.
pushing boundaries definitely at the time.
Sure. So I have that as like a reference, but I don't know what I'm referencing when I say that I know he was controversial. So I kind of don't. It's kind of this sort of abstract idea, I think, at the moment.
That's right. That's why. Coming down and getting given a random video.
Fine.
Widens the horizons.
Yeah, that's what's great about it, because like you say, this isn't necessarily a film that you normally would have picked up or watched. So it'll be good that you'll watch it, and it'll be good to see what your thoughts are afterwards. Because I'll be interested for sure.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Let's put it on and settle back, and we'll see you after the film.
A good yarn. I think that's
quite yarn.
It's quite timeless, I would say.
That's a good description of it, I think, actually. Yeah, because I was trying to think about this, and I was like, it's not as funny as like I remember, or I thought it would be.
Yeah,
but So I think that's a good description. Yeah. What were your? I mean, obviously from the DVD that we gave you, you obviously had a good idea of what it was going to be like. Was it what you thought it was going to be?
So there were like way more caveats than I thought. Or sort of, in terms of like
the rules were very important.
Exactly. But they kind of made sense in a way. Like there were a couple of times where, because the main one really is that he can't have any assets. And I was like, what kind of escapes that sort of definition of being an asset. But they kind of covered all bases, which I thought was quite cool. I wasn't expecting that. I thought there'd be a loophole or something, but there wasn't. It was quite like tight. So but yeah, I think I also like, I didn't laugh out loud as much as I thought I would, but it was kind of happy for the most part. Like it's not one of those films that's like called a comedy, but actually it's really depressing. I would say it was quite light.
No, that's the thing, because I don't think they're not sort of building to a joke a lot, which is why I like it so much. And it was kind of as I remembered it, that there's just sort of there's a few sight gags and there's a few sort of things as you go along, and it is the kind of concept that is the most important thing. But it's not like they're like setting up a joke and then delivering on it, and then setting up the next joke and delivering on it, which actually just means that it flows a bit more. And I think, I mean, it went really quickly for me. I mean, it's not a long film, but it is really well paced, I think, because it does just move along. Even the bit in between the fact that they've made all of the money back, and then when he decides to go into politics, I remember that there's sort of being more of a gap, but it's literally like, get out of the room. Oh, it's on the TV. Oh, I'll go into politics. So I like that. The pace of it does just make it kind of quite an easy and kind of quick movie.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'd say the average now is kind of 2 hours, isn't it? Minimum, I would say. So it's quite nice to watch a film that's, an easy afternoon watch kind of thing.
The appropriate amount of time a movie should be.
Yeah, exactly.
It was good, actually. I thought I was the same as you. I thought it definitely went quite quickly, much quicker than I remembered. It's almost like the film's gone before you even know it. And it was strange because I feel like I remember a lot of 80s films, they set up the story for so long. Like you take like 10, 20 minutes sometimes in 80s movies. And you're like, oh my God, just get on with it.
They've got the walkie-talkies, and then you have to get the walkie-talkies back.
So it's whereas this, it hits it straight away, right? Like you have the opening just to set the scene that he's obviously a baseball player, and then bang, it's pretty much straight into it. So with obviously some obligatory 80s bingo. So definitely bar fight. Done. Always a bar fight.
I mean, I don't think Rudy doesn't seem like a stand-up guy. I'm not sure that someone should be dating Rudy. He doesn't seem like the best person in the world.
And I love that she was his fiance, right? And they were literally about to go away and go to the bus with him. And then they're like, oh no, I didn't know you were here.
No loyalty whatsoever.
I mean, that's second league baseball.
It's just what happens. It's just those times. Was there anything that you specifically liked about it, Natalie, or anything that you found it doesn't really you did quite like about it?
So I think because I think the first thing, when it's laid out in front of you with all the caveats and stuff, the immediate thing is, what would you do, right? How would you do it yourself? So it was quite fun seeing him do it. And I think because the other thing as well, because I really didn't know what to expect with the film, I couldn't tell like early on if he was going to be a bit like stupid about it, like if he wouldn't be able to grasp the rules, or like maybe he wouldn't really fully understand what he was doing. But actually he was really smart about it straight away. The fact that he was offering people salaries like straight off the bat and things like that, I thought it was really smart and quick as well. Like you said, they just got straight into the meat of the task kind of thing. I really enjoyed
it. Would have been a good time to rob that bank when he took all the guards with him.
Exactly. I noticed that. I completely forgot about that. I was like, I'll be taking literally everyone here. Okay, fine.
So I quite like that. I quite liked seeing him kind of think of things on the spot. That made it seem quite fun, I think. And I also, what I liked is that they tied up all the loose ends, because there were a couple of things, that they had caveats about, and throughout the film, I was thinking, but he's got, because one of the things he gets is suits tailored for him, and I was like, he's going to end up with these suits, and he's going to fail, and he's not thought about it. But then right at the end, they say, oh, you've leased these, so they like all of the little sort of potential open ends they wrap up, which I always find very satisfying. So I did like that.
You had your list of things that you were like, well, he's going to explain it here.
Exactly.
Which one is it?
Exactly. I think the only thing I didn't like, which isn't surprising, I guess, because it still happens in films today, is that he has barely spent any time with his accountant or whatever her role is, and he loves her. And there's no building. It's not even that they don't build a relationship, but she clearly hates him. Or like, you know,
and has a fiance.
And has a fiance who she also seems to hate. Like, it's not like he had to work very hard to like pull her away from him. So I just, you know, again, it happens. I don't think that's a particularly 80s thing. It's just a film thing. But I think that always kind of makes me roll my eyes, because it's like, did it even need a love story? Probably not.
No.
They just kind of wedged it in there.
And I think, if they'd removed that bit as well, you could have had more John Candy. And actually then you could have had those two rolling off each other, and that could have been a bit funnier.
I think like more of a buddy movie now, which I think they would probably do now. I think in the 80s, just the way that you did a film, you had to have kind of a love interest, because that was why everyone sort of went to the cinema, and there was sort of certain beats that you had to, that everyone did, and everyone made, because it would have been much better as a buddy movie. That was probably the one thing that I didn't like. I kind of wanted an extra 5 minutes for him to like go downstairs and get into a car with Spike, and then him just to be like, "You're not going to believe this," and then pan up and then hear John Candy whoop, and like you're just like, because it ends just like out of nowhere almost. It's just like, oh, we're done. I don't even think they make it out the door.
No,
and it's already done. I'm like, oh, is that the end?
It's funny because I actually wrote down in my notes,
nice.
They don't show post him getting the 300 million, so I put that in my like doesn't, you know, I don't like. But actually, now that I've sat on it, I kind of don't mind it, because that was the end goal. So the end, right? So I kind of don't mind. And sometimes I do, like, one part of me likes seeing the conclusion of things, you know, when films do a like 10 years later and so like, and I do, you know, it's like satisfying, but actually you don't need it, I think.
It's just after the great moment in the party, which is the heartwarming moment where he's like, we'll just go and buy a cabin, and he does say we'll fly girls in, which is probably not the greatest thing to say. But I just feel like it just needed, even if it was just 2 minutes, it didn't need to jump time, but just like for Spike to still be involved, because he was kind of just cast aside for the last, and that because even it's just such a great scene, because he sort of says, I shouldn't have let you spend all that money. Like he is a friend, and he does like take it on himself. He shouldn't have let him do it, and they do the whip around for him. I don't know why that party is. I don't know why everyone else is so sad at that party. Like why is, like,
because no one's getting paid anymore.
And
everyone's
also,
lost all their gravy train.
And he did, because he says as well, doesn't he, John Candy? He's like, I saved every penny. You know, and I think to your point, like it's their love story in a way, and I totally wish it had been more about that.
It is. It is a shame. I think you're right. It doesn't. I thought that as well. I mean, I've seen this film many times, and I never remember it just feeling like it just sort of abruptly ends. I was just writing a final sort of note, and I was like, oh, it's finished. Oh, okay. that's the end then. It is a bit strange. I guess, you don't really need to delve into the 300 million saga, but it would have been a nice wrap up with Spike of just a little, like, you'll never guess. And then
exactly. Just pan out. Just go up to the offices. You get you can imagine it. I think the thing that sort of really stood out for me, and I think why it's got a little bit more heart, or why it's sort of got a bit more to it, is that he doesn't sell out. Throughout, he's actually, you know, even there's just the little bits in the script where she says, oh, you know, you must be so nervous about the game because you put everything into it, and he's like, well, not everything, but a lot. And I think that's it's the same with kind of the money. Like he doesn't change. He's actually the same all the way through. Even like going after Angela. Obviously, that's just part of his character. So he just does that, and he stays the same. And he's got the baseball, and he still does the things that he likes. And so out of everyone, he is the most unchanged by the money. And I think that's sort of the heart of the movie that goes through it. Which sort of the comparison films that we were talking about. I just don't think they do that as well.
And I was thinking about this, because obviously we've said it's more like it's like an entertainment piece, maybe, and like sort of buddy film rather than an out and out comedy. But I think it would change the film too much if you just put comedy into everything. That I'm basically pitching Kevin Hart and The Rock, because obviously it's the only comedy duo left in the world. And but I was thinking, well, when they spend the money, like if you made it really funny about every time they tried to spend some of the money, I don't think the film works as well. Like the idea is, it's a concept. Can you spend this money? We're going to put some lightheartedness around it, but it's, can you actually spend the money? That's the gimmick of the film. That's the idea. And I don't know if you could have, I don't know. What did you guys think? You think it could have been an out and out comedy?
No, I think maybe I think it changes it too much. And the thing is, you have to keep going as well. You have to move somewhere. You've got a month to show, like not to spend the money. Like, in the film, you've got a month that you've got to show. That month, you've got to show sort of the progression of time. You've got to show him kind of getting better at it as he goes as well, and like learning how to spend money and like that difference. And at the beginning, he's not doing it particularly well, and he's just sort of doing it all over the place. But then stuff like the stamp and then into the election, you've got to show that progression. And that's the thing. If you kind of get caught up too much with this joke and that joke, then I think it slows down.
It changes the film. I think it just changes the film, doesn't it? It doesn't become the same film that it is. I think that's one of the great things about it, is even though, and I think that's why, like, we'll get onto the reviews, but why people worry so much or so vehement about their opinions on this is because it's got Richard Pryor and John Candy in, which everyone's like, two heavyweight comedians. And it's not necessarily, as you said, Natty, it's not like laugh out funny.
No. Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that maybe would change the sort of comedy-ness of it is where it is in time. We kind of spoke about, because obviously this is its 7th iteration, I think, of the film. So I think really it would, if it was going to be made today, I think it's just who's delivering the lines and whether people find that funny.
Because I think that even because the exposition kind of bugged me a little bit, like that the whole like putting like the writing parts and then the guy doing the action news like update. I was a bit like, this is a bit annoying, it's a bit weird. But I think that is to keep the pace. And like, I mean, I don't really know why you need the writing at the beginning to sort of to preempt you into maybe it's just like this looks like a boring film. But no, it's just that something's about to happen. So don't worry. It's not a baseball film. It
is a bit strange, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think you need to write it. I think there are 3 scenes when they have the writing come up, and I think you don't need it on any of them.
No.
But yeah, fine.
Yeah. Was there anything in particular that you noticed on the rewatch, Kev?
The only other thing, there was a couple of things I noticed I hadn't previously noticed, was the final song, which classic 80s, they have to link the lyrics of the song to the final scene in the movie. So it's called In the Nick of Time, because he obviously just makes it. And I can't remember who it was performed by, but apparently that was written by Huey Lewis of the News. Wow. So really stepped out of his boundary then from Back to the Future. So what did we do there? Back in time, right? So what could we do here? So, I noticed that, and also the executor, the creepy dude, he just appears randomly in places that he shouldn't be. I'm like, why is he just always here? Like in the baseball changing rooms when he's just finished and he comes off from the pitching mound and he just lurks out of the shadow. I see you're spending the money well.
He was down in the changing room. He's like, why are you in the changing room? We're playing outside.
I'll be like, whoa, what are you doing there, mate? Why are you hiding behind that? So that was a bit weird. He seemed to pop up in bizarre, creepy scenarios. He's clearly getting paid too much money because he hasn't got enough clients. So, what about you? Is there anything that you noticed on the rewatch?
It felt even harsher taking him out of the game. Like he set up an exhibition game with the Yankees, and the manager pulls him out of the game. That would be me getting all of my mates together and saying, right, I'm going to pay for us to go and play at Old Trafford against Manchester United, and then 70 minutes in, someone being like, Andy, you sub off. I'd be like, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, having seen you play, I think that's probably right. Yeah. And also, I still think you'd probably have a bit of a chance against the current team as well. So maybe we should.
I mean, that Yankees team wasn't at the top of their game, but that's for next week maybe.
I was thinking. Yeah, could you imagine like how much it would cost to try and get the actual Yankees team now?
I think now, seriously, if you did it now, I think it would have to be $1 billion. I think you'd have to spend $1 billion because it's not just about inflation. It's just the fact that you can spend that stuff. So I think for it to be a challenge, you'd have to be up there. I did also notice that the lawyer bet that he puts on was actually for field hockey, and John Candy is like, that's not even that's field hockey, which is arguably the biggest field hockey reference in any film ever. I don't think that there's another. I don't think real hockey, as us field hockey players like to call it.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's ever mentioned in another movie. And also, the result is 18-0, which shows that they don't know how you score in a hockey match because you don't get 18-0 hockey matches.
No,
but that was a nice reference. I was like, so I don't think I've ever heard field hockey in a movie before.
There you go.
And obviously the 24% interest rate. We need to.
Oh my God.
We need to just mention that they were offering
crazy
24% interest rate, which is always fun.
That was quite a funny thing because obviously they do try to cover off a few sort of different morals in the story. And I thought that was one of the things they do try to sort of go through is around that. Oh, once you've got money, you basically are treated differently. You know, you get more money. Like, oh, you've got so much money. Yeah, let me give you a high interest rate. It's like, well, how does that make sense? Surely you should be less. And it just sort of shows you, I guess, especially in the 80s, that, you know, capitalism was really coming into itself at that point. And luckily we bypassed that and it's got better since then. So thank goodness for that.
Besides being a glowing reference for capitalism, what else did you think dated the film, Natalie?
To be honest, not too. I think it really solely sat with like the music, like the abundant use of sax, definitely. You know, the music, the style, you know, fashion, but actually it is a story that you could plant anywhere in time. I think, you know, people wanting lots of money, how it affects them. That's kind of a tale as old as time, isn't it? So actually, I don't really think, other than the way it looked, I don't think it really was too dated. I do agree with the titles that came up that weren't needed, you know, inexplicably. I don't, you know, that definitely wasn't needed. I don't know if this counts as dating the film, but there's one very quick scene where Richard Pryor breaks a fourth wall and talks to the camera.
Yeah, bizarre. I have no idea why. Like, what is that all about? There's no reason to do it.
I think I missed that. What does that
It's when he, like, after he first meets Warren, the fiance, and he's been really nice to him, and then he leaves the room, and as he shuts the door, he says something like, "What an asshole," but, like, directly to camera.
Yeah, which doesn't even need to be, like, he could just say it to himself. It literally doesn't need to be straight at the camera. You're like, what? Why have you done that? Why?
Yeah, very weird. I don't know. But is that a dating thing, or is that just like a weird stylistic choice? I don't know.
It's just a weird thing, I think.
Just a weird thing,
It didn't. Not every 80s film broke
No, that's true, I suppose.
No, I can't remember that many doing it.
But yeah, I think other than that, like, I can't even say the thing where he, like, falls in love with a woman that he barely knows, because that still happens today. So I would say that doesn't really date it either.
It's funny. I actually, in my notes, I had not as much as you'd think, or I'm just old. So I'm actually glad that I'm not just old. I did love the man bag that Spike comes in when he's bought the first suit, and it was like a little bag on a strap on his arm.
Excellent.
And I remember them. I think my dad had one of those in the 80s. And I just remember, he's like carrying this little man bag. I was like, that is brilliant. And the old school calculator as well, when she's doing all of the maths. I just love that.
God,
really chunky.
And then people reading newspapers. That doesn't happen anymore, does it?
That's true.
That's just that was a strange, like, oh, actually, yeah, this is a bit of a throwback.
Someone's printed out the internet. What's that? What's that about?
God.
The woman at the end is also so ugly. Like I don't know how.
Oh yeah,
like, it just feels like a hotel room with a carpet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But he does say this is a room I could die in, and I think that's what would happen if you spent enough time in that room. You would die.
Of boredom.
They put like desks and phones and
it looks like corporate 80s basically.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. The only other thing that stood out, and again, this dates it only because of it being the 80s, but the fact that when he goes to like the fanciest restaurant in town, he suggests offering $100 per head, which now is just like a standard meal, I would say.
Yeah.
So
you're just getting
McDonald's.
You're just getting main dishes, are you? Not
yeah, exactly.
yeah, your inflation will actually change. So what did you say then? I'll come to you first, Andy, and then I'll come to you, Natalie. What did you think about describing the plot to an alien? I struggled with this one a little bit. So what did you come up with?
I just went with money makes people go crazy. Because I think again, it's not so much about him, it's about everyone around him. And the fact that they just, like, everyone goes nuts to try and get money from him because he's giving away money. And I think that's important for the aliens to know, although it does show an Achilles heel, as I think we said on 2 or 3 films. Actually, you can just offer money and you can take over the Earth. That'll be fine.
Yeah, that was true. But here's something actually I forgot to mention earlier. His relative that's offering him the money, the reason he's offering him so much is so that he gets to a point where he hates spending it. He hates the idea of money in the same way that his dad did with cigars.
Yeah.
So, that was good.
It's funny because in the sort of tagline, it says you don't have to be crazy to spend 30 million in 30 days, but it helps. But he isn't, like, he's quite level-headed, isn't he? Like the whole time.
Yeah.
So
but there's a
weird.
lot at the start. There's a lot kind of about you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy.
That's
but
true,
you
I
can't,
suppose.
like they riff on that. I presume it's from the book, actually.
Yeah.
I presume that, like, maybe because they sort of say, when the financial advisor comes in, they sort of say, maybe he's losing it, and
that's true,
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's probably a plot line in the book where someone tries to put him, like, take him to the hospital or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes. What questions do you think the film sort of asks or answers, Natalie? And anything that came up here for you?
You actually touched on it earlier, which is the question, what does it ask? Is spending money worth it, or is it spending money the way that he's trying to spend it worth it? Because at the end he obviously says that, I'm sick of this. So it's sort of worked, right? And what does it answer? And this is what you touched on earlier, which is having money makes money. Like the fact that because there's a scene, isn't he, where he tries to make a load of really bad bets, but he makes money, and he like buys an iceberg and he makes money. Like, these completely ridiculous things, and he's making money because he's got so much of it.
Yeah. No, for sure. What did you have?
The baseballers don't seem to have any friends. He's only got a spike, and that's it. He never goes, I'm going to take all my friends out, or I'm going to, fly them over. That's it.
It's
and then
solitary, isn't it? Sports stars, you get traded to some of the teams that they said that he played at. I think was brilliant. But they're saying, he gets traded from one place to another.
I mean, honestly, this film made me feel sorry for sports stars and rich people. I really hope that they're all okay. This is just going out to you guys. When a member of your staff's listen to this podcast and they tell you about it, I hope that you're okay. That was my final point. Was sports stars are more important than politicians as well. Which, not only do they push through the film, he categorically says it as well in his final electoral speech.
Yeah, so, and he says it takes a real athlete to be a professional baseball player. You're like, does it?
Yeah,
does it?
Yeah,
Well,
sure. He's sitting there, 45, trying to push a baseball out of his arm.
Oh, actually, you've just reminded me. The thing that dates the film, going back quite far now, is they'll be like, "Oh, he says to one of his fellow baseballers, you're only 26, but the guy looks 40. Like everyone is, I don't know why older people played such young people in movies in the 80s, but yeah, they don't age well.
Couldn't trust young people in the 80s.
Yeah, maybe.
They just were too frivolous.
Well, I guess it wasn't high def, so maybe you didn't notice as much.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, the quality actually, I don't know what you guys watched it on, but I noticed on my one, the quality was actually really good. I was like, wow, they've really, like Richard Pryor is like popping off of this screen here.
Nice.
What about you, Andy? Any
I do. I just had Can You Buy Anyone? Because I do think the sort of the interplay with Warren and stuff is quite funny at the beginning, where she's like, no, you know, he won't do that, and then he quits the law firm to become a decorator again, and wants to be an AD, Architecture Digest. I thought that was quite funny. I did also the best question. The best question in the film is when the photographer who's tracking them down is on the phone when they're just about to get into the fight, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's just finished pitching," and then and then he says, "Oh yeah, no, he's not bad." Like, why would the lawyers have asked if he was a good picture or not? What possible relevance would that have?
I don't know. I guess you would just be interested, wouldn't you? Like, it just shows you human nature. You're like, oh, okay, interesting. Oh, so is he any good?
Yeah. We're about to give him $30 million to spend in 30 days. Is he any good at pitching? Are those two things related at all? Does it matter? So I thought that was quite funny. So the genre that you would swap it for, what have you got?
I kind of think, and maybe this is because it's not like a laugh out loud comedy, but I kind of could only really see it turning into more of a drama. Like if you take all of the laughs out, maybe it could be really stressful.
Someone's trying to kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
Money.
I don't know. Or if you took away his buddy, his like kind of comedy relief buddy, like maybe it would be less funny. If he definitely had to do it all alone, it would be more of a drama, maybe. But
Spike is the person who keeps the receipt and is in play with the lawyers. Like it's a real betrayal.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that'd be awful.
Oh, that would hurt. Yeah, his only friend
sells out because he's going to get more money.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think there's not too much you could do with it. Like often I think comedy and horror films are quite intertwined, and I say that because it's all about timing. Like horrors are scary because they got the timing right. Same with comedy. It's not funny if the timing's not right. But in this instance,
could this be a horror?
I don't think so. Maybe
you have to like kill 30 million zombies or something.
I don't know, maybe.
But maybe if they don't spend it, they die.
Oh God! Okay.
There we go. Wow, that's definitely taken a turn. Yeah,
that would be a good twist.
Yeah.
Would you have turned down the 1 million? I have to ask.
I had this question.
If they said just okay, here's 1 million, you don't do anything, you just walk out the door. I don't know. I'd be tempted and just to be like, that's fine.
2.8 million in today's money, and that's US as well. So that's good amount.
Oh, I don't know. My fiance was like, I'd take the 1 mil. He was like, he was happy to walk away. I don't know. I'd be tempted to try it, I think. But I think it looked really stressful. So actually, no, I think I'd take the wimp clause, they call it.
Yeah, I did see the end of one of the other films where it was the same thing where you had like 40,000 at the end. And then what they do, which actually is kind of a nice thing. So he gives the 40,000 to someone, like one of the lawyers, but it's actually 40,000 and $12. And so then they're like, oh no, there's $12 left. So then he's like, oh, I've got $12 left, like as the clock's chiming. And then his friend sort of says, oh, well, you owe me $10. And so he's like, oh, okay, here's $10. Now he's got $2 left. And it gets sort of less and less. And then right at the end, the cabbie who's sort of taking him there is like, oh, I'm not waiting anymore. You owe me sort of $1, $1.50. And then he gives it to him to sort of say, oh yeah, keep the change. And that's he's done it. So that seemed like a better way to like,
draw it out a bit longer
rather than punching him.
Yeah.
Which he deserved.
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
So, that's the 80s as well, wasn't it? Like someone gets punched and there's no obvious there's no reason that you could tell that they've been punched. There's no blood that's come out. There's no bruising.
You could take a lot
floor.
of hits in the face in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah. Yeah, although I don't know, Sylvester Stallone might disagree with that now. Yeah.
So, which character did you go for, Natalie? I know that Kevin would have only been Brewster because he's always just goes for the main character because he is the main character. So we almost don't need to cover it. Who did you go for?
I kind of did the same. To be honest, only in the sense that as how it develops, like that initial frantic approach in how he like spent the money, and then he tried to become more thoughtful about it. Like, I guess I felt like that felt real or like realistic. So I kind of identified with his like approach to it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that there was anyone else. It would have been between Brewster and Spike, I think.
Yeah.
Because they felt quite like personable and real people. So the others are just sort of villains, aren't they?
Yeah. Although the security guard, I think, it seems like
he seemed very nice
guy as well, actually. And he sort of he helps him out at the end. He seems like a good guy.
And
what about you then, Andy?
Sorry, I was just going to say also Warren's ex-wife. Like they kind of bring her in as this ex-wife, and you think like, great, we hate her, or like, oh, we're supposed to feel something, but she's just really good at her job.
Although she gets, I think, one of the most evil lines in the movie, which we'll get to when we get through. She gets a really good line. That's you can be the main character, Natalie. You haven't done it 17 times in a row. Unlike Kevin.
Absolutely nice. Look. There's plenty of these films that I definitely don't want to even be in. So
you want to be Eric Cantona, we know. I went for Spike. I just think he's the heart of it. I was trying to think as well. Are there any actual funny John Candy movies? Like most of his movies, I feel are like this, where there's not sort of laugh out loud comedy, laugh out loud moments. It's just like it is sort of that everyman, and he sort of he brings a heart to it and a quality to it. But I don't ever think of him and being like, oh, you know what? Do you know who makes me laugh? John Candy.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a good actor, and I like him in stuff. But
it's a good point. Yeah, you think about all these films that I'm just thinking about them now. Like obviously. They're Cool Runnings, Home Alone, Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, Automobiles. But like you're right, none of them are really. He's almost obviously he's a comedy actor, but he's almost a foil with someone else.
Yeah.
So and you're right, they're more. Yeah, interesting. I did also have down. Does he always wear Hawaiian shirts in every film that he's in? So
that's in his rider.
Yeah, exactly. That's like part of his contract. It's like I will take less money, but I must wear Hawaiian shirts.
I think he had the right approach. He's like, I didn't really spend that much money. I bought a couple of nice snazzy suits, and then I just saved the rest and invested it. I can just go away and go fishing and live my life and offer.
Imagine if there was like a sequel, which was just going back and following Spike. And you'd be like, oh, what has he done today? Oh, he's opened his bank account. Oh, good, excellent. There's a little bit more money in there today.
It's like writing some checks to charity, then just going back on. Oh, we're up 2%. Oh, great. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
What
were favorite lines then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just to complete the loop. So she says when they're staring down at them, flirting, which obviously is it's a bit questionable. But she says, "Oh, that girl is ungrateful considering all the things you've done to try and improve her."
Oh, and yes.
It's like, what a rubbish! Oh, what an evil line.
Yeah. My favorite actually isn't a line, but it's like a moment in the film, which is after he buys the most expensive stamp that he could possibly buy, and you realize that he's put it on the postcard, and that was that for me was the best part.
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant.
The stamp is great. Yeah. Especially when they cut that, they set that scene up so nicely.
Yeah.
And you are thinking, like, I even though I've seen this before, I was like, I know that he does something with it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I think I remember what he does. But you don't see that. If you've not seen it before, I don't think you see it coming at all. And then he's like, oh, look at this idiot. He sent me a postcard. And you're like, oh,
and Descendant, because he's not like antagonistic to those guys that much. So
No.
that's sort of a nice sort of kind of spicy bit where you like he sends it to them rather than like you could have sent it to anyone. But
and I think it's like the moment where you realize he's become much smarter about how he's spending the money. So it's a nice little like change of pace. But I think that was like a great moment in the film.
Yeah.
But not a line, I suppose. Yeah.
I think that the none of the above is genius writing, right? Because that's so clever that it's not his name on the ballot. So like therefore, it doesn't mean that he's going to get the job necessarily, even if everyone votes for him, because he's saying you should vote for none of the above, which is not I think that's really, really clever, sort of doing that, just saying just don't vote for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any lines, Kev, that stuck out?
There was just a couple of quick ones. Yeah, there was the coach, the baseball coach. He says to one of one of the players, he says, "You're not a farmer. You don't have to swing at bleat stuff in the dirt." So that was quite good. And then the guy at the start, the private investigator, he's talking to John Candy at one point. It's almost like, actually, I would have liked to see those two together more. That would have been quite funny. He says, "I'm getting paid to take pictures, not to interpret reality." I was like, nice.
Yeah, good. I had that one. I had that one down as well, and I was just like, oh wow, that's great. That's quite deep. That's quite good.
Great line. Yeah, those two would have been good actually. They definitely could have done a little side plot on those guys.
Yeah. Well, actually, funnily enough, for the 3-star reviews, there was only one 3-star review on Amazon.
Ooh.
Interestingly, definitely a divisive movie, and that was nothing really bad, but not as good as the original. Obviously, it's been done 7 times, and it's got a book, so I'm not sure what the original is.
Yeah, which original?
Asking for. But that was it. Nothing really bad. It's such a damning thing to say. Like, it's not bad. Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
I'll watch it. Yeah. In today's world, that's perfect. You always have to have stuff on in the background. So
Well, that's the thing. It's just a nice movie to have even on in the background and stuff as well. So that was it. Just the one on there. No,
I had a look at Rotten Tomatoes to see there were some 3-star reviews on there, but it's generally more. These are probably like sort of more correctly rated, should I say? Whereas I think that the Amazon 3-star reviews are a bit more fun because they're a bit crazy. But this was quite a good one, I thought. Just sums up quite nice. Gets straight to the point. Lots of dosh, lots of fun. That's it.
Nice.
That's the review.
Nice.
And I'm like, there you go.
From one of the critics in a newspaper. That person was on a deadline this week. So. Yeah. So what did you think? Do you think it would do better or worse if it came out today? So it was a $20 million budget. Did 40 million. So doubled its money, which
that's pretty good.
Yeah, which isn't bad. So
to be honest, I don't know. Like again, we've kind of said it the whole way through. It sort of transcends time. Like it's a story for any age, I think. So I think if they did it today as like a modern retelling, I think it could be really funny. Like I think it's kind of funny any which way. So yeah, I think it would be successful. And I think as well, I was actually thinking about this earlier, especially now with social media, I think it's such like an invasive species, isn't it? Social media. So I kind of feel like it would be relevant to talk about money and how it's not everything and that sort of thing. Because I think in any sort of I don't want to say generation, but like in the 80s, it's relevant because there was this capitalism boom, and after a few decades, like a new sort of boom comes around, and I think that's when it's relevant again. And I think at the moment it would be maybe linked with social media and influencers, and I think that would kind of be an interesting modern. I don't know how.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah. Imagine the trolls that you'd get. Like if you try to spend all this money and people just be like, "Can't believe you're spending all this money on this and this."
Yeah.
It would. You'd get plenty of trolls, would you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe they're given $1 billion and they have to get 100 million followers on a social network as well. There's a double jeopardy or something, and someone unfollows them on the last day.
Just at the end, again, it's Spike, and you're like, oh, fine, cut it.
Because in the film, obviously he does have the news following him, but it always feels quite closed. Well, kind of close to like New York, right, or maybe America, but if it was modern day, it would be just someone in the back end of nowhere who would know. So I think it would do well if it came out today still.
Chuck Fleming at Action News is very random. Even he's doing one of the news reports he's doing from the crowd in the baseball stadium. You're like, why are you sat in the crowd?
What a great newsreader.
He's getting involved.
I don't think that the microphone's attached. I think he's the crazy one. He's just going around pretending like he's on the news. Maybe that's part of the horror version as well. I think it's just such a great concept. I think I am surprised considering the state of films these days that someone hasn't picked it up. There has been a script that's been kind of bouncing around. I think in 2015, when I was doing research, someone was attached to do it was as a director, but it kind of never got anywhere. I think it would still do. I think unfortunately this movie wouldn't do as well, like in its version. But I think this is almost I miss films like this that are just good films, funny in places, sad in places, makes you think a little bit, but like not particularly challenging. It's just a good movie. It's just something you can watch. This is the type of film that you see it's on TV and all of a sudden you watch it, and but like no one's going to choose this on a streaming site because you're just not going to. This is the type of film that you should be forced to watch.
Hold on a minute. We're getting back into the horror genre.
It's quite inoffensive, isn't it? Like I don't think anything really happens in the film where you're, like you said, like you're not overly challenged at any given point. You've said a lot that if it came on TV, you would watch it because that's what you've done over the years. But I'm not sure that I would. And I think that's partly because it's so inoffensive that kind of nothing happens in a way. Like obviously
you'd be waiting for something to happen and then it would finish.
I think because it's such a like gentle film in a way. Like that it's not overly, there's not loads of punchlines and gags. It's not, to me, like super bad. It's one of the funniest films, but the level of laughter that comes out of that you don't really have in Brewster's Millions. And it's also like touches on some sad points or like thoughtful moments, but doesn't make you think too hard so you don't get too sad. So I think it's so.
We're talking about Brewster's Millions or
yes,
Superbad?
not Superbad. No, so I'm just I think it's so inoffensive that you could easily pass it by in a way if you don't know it, especially. But
I think that's where the concept draws it back for me, because like I mean, maybe that's the thing. If you see it on TV and you're like, this looks dull, and you're just about to turn over the channel, and then the scroll comes up, and you're like, wait, what? Bruce is just about to get money, but he just
part of it's part of the Star Wars universe. What's happening?
John Williams comes over the top of it. So similar movies on Letterboxd. We had Mr. Deeds, Anger Management, and Dinner with Schmucks, which I'm not sure any of those are actually like this. So that's a loss for the algorithm in my opinion. Which actually I totted up the scores, and that makes it 10-7 to the algorithm doesn't know what films are actually like other films.
Okay.
So
so the algorithm's losing.
It's losing.
I did think Mr. Deeds. I have to say, I think Mr. Deeds is the only one I would have thought of.
Andy.
But I also haven't seen it in a very long time. All I could remember is that I think there's some sort of inheritance, and that's it. That's it. I can't really like that's
It's 9/8 live. I'll update that spreadsheet immediately.
Just because there's one word.
Exactly. They share the word inheritance.
This is great. Who would have thought this could happen? I didn't think this would happen in this pod. bombshell.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Algorithm fights back through Natalie.
There was one, wasn't there? There was literally just like, oh, it's about football.
Yeah.
So that's the same. I think, or maybe it was Whiplash or something that was just one key word.
There was
Drums.
So cover then, Andy.
Yeah.
So obviously it's on your top 100. Does it stay there? Does it move up or down the list? What's the go?
Yeah, so it's at 84. I think I like it. It's a good watch. It's got some nostalgia in it, but I think it's I have to say it's got more for me than like Trading Places and some of the other 80s comedies, which I think should be represented on the list. I do think there is some more thought-provoking stuff about capitalism, about him. I think we're kind of, we've got a few places to fall back on, but actually I'm going to keep it at 84 because I think that's a good place for it to be. It's not, it's not quite cracking the 70s, but 84 is a good place for it to be. So yeah, I think it's a good one to watch. So it has something to say. And it's and it can be an introduction to Richard Pryor, who's much funnier, I think, in stand-up than any of his movies.
Yeah. Well, this would be crazy. Imagine if you'd never seen him before. You watch this and go, "Oh yeah, quite like this. I'm going to put your stand-up on," and then you'd be like, "Whoa!"
It's going to be like a Michael McIntyre, like Everyman comedy, and then you'd be like, "Oh no, it's not.
This is a bit different." Yeah,
yeah. So we'll keep it. We'll keep it there.
Nice.
And that's good. Well. Thank you very much to our guest. We hope that you enjoyed being introduced to Brewster's Millions. You can go and now just keep thinking about what would happen if you inherited.
I mean, that is going to torment me now forever. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been great. We go on next week actually to another baseball movie, strangely enough, but probably a little bit more of an actual baseball movie next time out. With the great quote, I hate losing more than I want to win, which is a great quote.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's a great quote. Thank you to Tom Evans for the theme song.
He says you're welcome.
Shout out to Tom Evans. And we'll see you next week.